Very good. I just have to close the door. Just hold on. Yeah. Amore, io vado online, ok? Okay. We close the door and we sit down here. And I hope it all works great. No, it's maybe a little bit slightly too up. Maybe it's like this is better, huh? And maybe a little bit more on the Pega side, and then you can see a little bit as well what I'm doing here. Let me see. Oops, slightly like this. I think it is a little bit gives you a better picture what I'm doing here. So, hello, hello. This is very likely to be the last transmission here, I believe, from home, from this home, because I have more than one home. Because yesterday evening they have decided that on next Monday, 4th of May, here in Italy, at least the ones who are making and manufacturing and companies can start to work again. Not everything will be open. Some activities still have to be closed, like bar, restaurants, and barbers and things like this. But slowly we can open up, which does not mean that we will be back to normal at all. We have to wear the masks, and we have to get ready with the whole thing. That means also that in my workshop, we have to work with masks. We have to have something to clean our hands in a proper way. And we have to do all these new rules. We have to get this into our daily life. Now we just had to go to the supermarket once a week to get our food, and it was already pretty limiting. Can't imagine to have this mask for the whole day on, but we will see how we can handle it and how we can live with it. But for sure, one thing is that I'm looking forward to finally go back into my workshop. It's just something I just miss it so much. I'm just I really I felt that in this time, in this 2 months, that doing something with my hands and working with wood is something which fulfills completely and satisfies my way of being, and I cannot imagine to live without something like this. And wow, I'm just looking forward. So I can see there's already a few people here online. It's not too far away that I can. Arun, 13 people. Hi, sir. Hi, Arun. I hope you have a lot of questions here. Otherwise, I don't know what to tell. But since there are a lot of violin makers out there, I thought I will start this time with something interesting. Since a lot of people nowadays in this Corona lockdown are in big troubles financially, I just thought this morning when I woke up and I was still lying there, I just, oh damn, I'm so lucky that in the year 2000 I bought a book and then I started to put some money, just a little small amount, on the side. And this actually changed my life completely. And while I was working before, making, selling, and sometimes struggling in my making a lot, this fact that I just didn't spend everything which came in, but I put it a little bit on the side, and this means for my company as well as my private finances, made a huge difference. Now you would say, what the hell is this guy now talking here? But I just actually, I was thinking before I woke up, before I got out of my bed, that actually the fact that I put it a very small amount, I started with 10%, and it's no need that you now get a super saver, but just a small part, and you just put it aside. This in violin making for me made a huge difference. While I was before, I always felt like a student and I tried to come along, and certainly from outside, people always thought that I'm always wealthy and always rich. It's not true, and it's nothing has been given for free to me. But every time behind every step I made and every trial I made, there was a reason on the backside. But the fact that I had at a certain point the ability to permit myself not to give away the instrument immediately or to sell it right away because I need the money gave me the opportunity and the chance to try a few things, make a longer sound post and a shorter one, a larger bridge, a lower bridge, take out the neck again, remake the bass bar, revarnish it, and if you are now a maker, I think there are a lot of makers watching to me. I think the financial part of everybody, of all of us, is a huge part which affects our daily way of doing things. And in violin making, I really would like to wish, and since I'm in the board of directors of the consortium in Cremona as well, I will permit to say something like this as well to all my colleagues in Cremona. The whole Cremonese violin making would be much better if people wouldn't spend all the money and even more they have already earned in advance. If they just put a little bit aside, you just can take it easy and make the best out of a time like this, which were 2 months, new experience. I'm still missing the making, the workshop and the tools and the dust and all this wood and everything. But it certainly gave me the ability to, with a certain distance to what I'm doing, reflect. And that was really, I think it's very precious. And I feel fine. I was not exhausted. My wife and me, we had a great relations. Most of the relations are falling apart because of financial things. So I just could just, if you're now watching here and there are only 10 people or something, start putting just a small part. And if 10% is too much from everything which comes in, you just put a little bit aside and you don't buy anything. And on the other side, spend because you're living right now and you have to make the best out of every day and enjoy life, eat good food and great wine. Great. After this lesson, which is a generally speaking, and I know it seems a little bit strange, but I think it is very important. And saving money, you can even teach to a monkey. Okay? Okay. But they don't tell you in school, by the way. Hi, Tostra, 1997. Hi there, happy Monday. This is true. I was thinking already yesterday, it was nice. Tomorrow, new week starts, and then number 6, man. Wow, huh? Time passes very quick. Aaron, hi, sir. Hillary or Larry counts. I understand I missed my shop after 2 days. I can imagine, so I'm not the only one. Darwin, hello from Puerto Rico. Nice. This is nice from Puerto Rico. I love Puerto Rico. Nice to hear progress is being achieved against COVID-19. Yes, it is, but it's we're not over it. It's if you just think when the lockdown started, we were in this situation we are right now, so we're not over. And it's a lot of people I think believe and think the same way like me. So it's just it's not anymore 1,000 people dying every day, and we can. Sorry, I have to put the cat inside, otherwise, Nerino, Nerino. Meow. So come on, you want to see my audience here? Come on. Wow. Okay. Look into the camera. No, no way. He's not happy anymore. He wants to get inside. Sorry. You know. Okay. So So now we just, when we look outside, we don't see all these funeral trucks anymore and things like this, which was 3-4 weeks ago, was really depressing when you looked out of the window. Terry, hi, what is the minimum aging for the wood you would use for a violin top and bag? Thanks. Very interesting question. Because I don't know who at a certain point was talking about using seasoned wood. And indeed, I admit that I feel a big difference if I'm using nice maple, spruce, well seasoned. So I love to buy my wood myself. The spruce I buy myself in the Val di Fiemme, which is the northern part of Italy, where the wind speed in the valley is very regular. And so I get the best wood, and it's the same area where the great masters got their wood from. But the issue about seasoning wood, you have to see it also from another point of view. And the other point of view is that Stradivari, Guarneri, Amati, all these makers actually used wood which was very, very fresh. And we nowadays, we know it by making exact research, and you can just tell when it has been cut. And they used, even Stradivari used the wood which was cut the same year he made already instruments. Certainly at that time, they cut the wood, throwed it into the edge, adice, and then it went all the way via these channels of water system of the northern part of Italy to the port of Venice, where the trees arrived in the big lagoons of Venice. And here comes all the story that this sweet water was slowly exchanged to salt water. And so the people were thinking about this mystery and special wood treatment and everything. But there was always the water going through, and the wood was seasoning by floating in the water. And then people, let's say Stradivari, Antonio said, Francesco, oggi andiamo a prendere il legno. Well, they went all the way to Venice into the lagoons and were suturing the entire trees, took the horses, trees, and then they were carrying them all the way back to Cremona. In Cremona, for the first time, they took the trees out of the water. And doing this, the wood was very wet, but was already seasoned. Okay, the seasoning is something, is probably a process in the wood. And then they were immediately cutting it in pieces and using the wood. Now, I agree that the 20-year-old wood is certainly, I would say, is the perfect years. 20, 30 years would be great. But if you start making in the beginning and you buy something which you can usually start using in 30 years, it seems like, oh my God, it will be already like already under earth when I'm going to use it. And I can tell you that time is passing very quick. And so I bought a lot of wood. Was grateful to my father, who at that time, at a certain point, said, "Okay, Edgar, I think the most important thing is that you get the right wood and it's nicely seasoned." So he gave me, like, at that time, maybe it was 10,000 German marks, and then I went with my Ford Fiesta all the way to Germany, to Erlangen. And then there was, in the Mozartstraße, there was a guy who's selling nice wood in the very backside, and Lorenz, this was really good. And so I went to this guy and I bought for 10,000 German marks, which is like 5,000 euros now. I bought some wood, and then I went back to my parents' place and I showed what I bought. And my father was visibly disappointed that I didn't buy enough wood, or not a lot of wood. He thought that with that much money you get much more. This wood was used. I could use it immediately, and then I started to buy fresh wood in the only spruce. Never bought fresh maple, by the way. And And then years passed by, and now this fresh wood, certainly after years, over 20 years, has been seasoned very well. After 10 years, I started to use it to see how it is and things like this. And this seasoned wood is very good. But on the other side, if you have people saying that now something is 50 years old or 100 years old, believe me, to the result of your instrument, it doesn't make any difference. It's a different question if you're now making a copy of something and you want to be sure that you want to fool somebody completely great, then you certainly have to rely on these very old seasoned pieces. But by working, I cannot tell a difference between 20 or 30 years or 100 years. The oldest wood I was using was the 48,000-year-old wood, which I was using from someone who got it. And I have to close the door because my wife is today having, wow, they're just shouting so much. Or many teachers together today from 2 until 7 o'clock, and they're all talking the same time. So if you use such old wood, then you actually start realizing what is with the wood going on. And the wood, by seasoning, is actually becoming like cement at that point. Certainly 48,000 years is something no human being will ever experience it. But I made the instrument. It didn't sound that bad, but I would not now recommend to make it. It's like so fragile, so it's not elastic anymore. And you can maybe search it, violin, violino di Sara or something like this. I made a violin also for charity. So I think I hope I gave you a nice picture about seasoned woodworking and how much it is important to have this kind of wood. Okay, certainly use seasoned wood. And another small thing on regarding this seasoned wood is also, if you use artificial dried wood, it's horrible. It's horrible. It's not how it should be. This is a different thing, you know. The top, after you make the joint and you make everything nice, then it goes a little bit in and you can see it, and you, because probably where the glue is, it will stay like this, and the rest takes humidity, and it's nothing. I would stay away. It's a pity. It's already so much time you're dedicating, and there's a few hundred more or less doesn't really make a difference, you know. And somehow there is this belief among musicians that makers would have great pleasure to use artificial dried wood, but it's completely nonsense. Um, Violin, play piano. Hello, you're back again here. Huh? Hello, where is good place to get premium old wood for violin making, and what is good price level? What is more important, spruce or maple or both? Thanks. This is a good question, and I really don't know. It's always changing a little bit. Certainly, you cannot find somebody who has for 10 years always seasoned wood. So um, just keep your eyes open, start buying something fresh, put on your year, and buy also some seasoned one, and then at a certain point you don't have all these problems. Okay. Then what else do we have here? And certainly in Germany there are some good wood dealers, huh? Uh, uh, but right now I don't know who is the right one. Who like for spruce, Bachmann has a good system, but he's not the only one, and he's not exactly in the right valley. So I buy also wood from him for some lower grade instruments if I don't want to use my wood, but you pay then also for every year like €2 and things like this, because seasoning is a certain cost. Okay, have a sip of cold coffee here. And I can see that here my Internet connection is very weak today, and I hope it will start again. Otherwise, I don't see your questions here. But anyhow, what else? Thibaut Jaberg. Hello, Edgar. Good to be back again. Very good. And Thibaut has also a nice question later on. How much should the violin back weight before gluing it to the ribs? Is a nice question. I many years ago, probably over 20 years ago, I had this theory or a theory. I just tried to measure everything. So then you start weighting. I don't remember. It was just one thing, but certainly uh, you don't sell your instruments by weight, and on the other side on one side you want to be as, I don't say now heavy, but a lot of material to vibrate in order that it projects very nice, and on the other side it has to be it has to move, and it depends on the wood. If the wood is very compact, you can low down, but the weight will be higher. uh, I don't remember now these weights. Really, I don't remember. I have it in my in my workshop. I have it immediately. I have something. I have it written down. Or for years I wrote it down, but I don't remember. It's too many years ago. At a certain point, I wrote all the thicknesses and all the weights, and then I made the Hutchins system and everything you could do. And now for already like at least 15 years, maybe even longer, I'm just on my. I just feed it, and that's it. Fine. At a certain point, you understand that this is it. You are the best measuring machine, and it's you don't have to force yourself to uh, uh, to memorize. In the beginning, you certainly it's a little bit too much information, so you write it down, and it's certainly not a bad way to write things down. And even the weight, just write it, just keep on doing, and you will see your own things. But there are no measurements like this around. Everybody has its own things, what they think is good. Jerry James, greetings. Hi, Jerry. Jerry wrote also something. No. Mertash Yamalipur. Hi, Master. In the last movie, you spoke about finding the location of bass bar to put the bridge. Can you please explain more? I didn't get it. How does it help? It's a longer question, and I'm thinking about how I can explain it. Um, if you go on my now, I don't want to now. You can do it yourself, huh? But on my online shop, you have in accessories, you have the sound adjustment kit, and they have a very starter, and then you have a more experienced one for 99 euro. But there are four small tools inside, and it's actually nothing else than just this piece of. You can also do it like this. You just have a here like this, and then you go inside the F hole and you can measure where's the sound post, okay? Like this, okay? So it's yeah. Now it's all that you have something that you can go inside and you can measure where is the sound post in order that you know it from the outside. Uh, just today, somebody wanted to get them shipped in within Europe or Ireland, and then the shipping is 15 euros, and these small tools are 20 euros. I make them myself out of kind of brass, bronze, something like this, and I band them for violin, for viola, cello too, one of the Montagnana and one for the Strad cello. But it's actually a very good tool because you can, from the outside, without any rule or anything, you can check, you can know exactly where the bridge is, right? Where the sound post is, or the the bass bar. Now it's, if you have a violin I have already a video about it. You have just to look about bass bar and where the sound post position is in these videos, and then you see it also. So I would just recommend to watch these videos as well. But if you have a violin straight like this, we all agree that the neck and everything has to be along a center line. And if it is not like this, then you have to figure out what is wrong, right? And then you have to adjust it. And then you have to understand where is now the center, where the bridge is, and where should be the bridge, right? So to do so, I place in the area of the bridge, I place just the sticky part of a post-it. So I can write on the instrument itself without that the paper is moving, okay? But I don't want to scratch or destroy the varnish. Then I measure exactly everything, and I measure with these tools where is my bass bar inside. It's not that on every instrument, because I didn't make it, I just say, we have to get out the bass bar, we have to get in the right position. It's actually the other way around. So if you know where the bass bar side is, and then you flip on the other side, and then you know where the sound post should be, right? And the bridge should overlap a little bit of this. And the bridge should overlap probably 1 millimeter, 1.5 on a viola, 3 to 5, or actually let's say 4 millimeters on a cello. Certainly these measurements are always plus minus, because if you are a professional, you want the bass bar more towards the outside in order that it responds slightly a little bit more difficult but gives a bigger sound. And so on a cello we say between 3 to 5, which means 5 millimeters. If it's inside the bass bar, it is too much inside, but then it responds quicker. Okay, and if it's 3, then it's more outside and it responds more difficult. These 2 millimeters on a cello is on a violin maybe, I don't think if it is a 0.5 millimeter, maybe even less. But that means that you can regulate with the size of the bridge. If the bridge you are cutting in that specific position is now for a beginner or for a professional, because you have to imagine that a professional musician who plays for 5, 6, 8 hours a day has all the ability to take out with his hand, with his bow hand, the maximum of this instrument. So for him, response is not a problem. He has no, a professional musician never complains about response. He certainly will say it responds a little bit more difficult compared to that instrument, but certainly he rather prefers a difficult responding instrument, which he would not describe as difficult because it's just responding a little bit, while a beginner would say, oh, it doesn't respond, it's so difficult to play. So on this measuring now, when we have now the top here and you have the 2 feet here, then you have here, you have the edge of the bridge, and somewhere here, this a little bit more inside, you have then the bass bar, okay? And on the other side, exactly on the same side, on the other side, you have then on that line, the sound post. So we have it a little bit like this. Let's say, and then we make it like this. Oops. We just, yeah. And on the other side, we have here just, so now I designed it here like this. This is the bridge feet, and this here stands for the bass bar inside. And this gap, this slightly small gap here, is the distance, which is on a violin, let's say 1 millimeter, but could also be 1.5 for a beginner, and less than 1 millimeter for a professional, 0.8, let's say, for a professional musician. And on the other side, then on that line, there has to be then the sound post, okay? The video about the sound post will tell you exactly where the sound post should be, but this is is crucial. And the bridge has to stand all lined up with the 4 strings on the upper part, 4 strings in the tailpiece, and button, everything, it has to be lined up. Otherwise, it won't be equilibrated. I hope that this is generally a good answer to that question. Certainly, then you will, when you start making this, you will see that these things don't pop into the right position by themselves, and you will actually face a lot of problems doing it nice, and you will be super angry with what other people's made and why now a factory instrument costs so little and a great made instrument costs much more, and some very expensive instruments are, even those are not made in the proper way. Huh? Um, where I am now, Thibaut, I said already, Dervin Serrano. In addition to using plate thickness patterns, do you use tap tuning techniques to determine final plate thick? Yes. Plate thickness. Yes, that's what I'm doing actually. Okay, so I'm that's what I'm. Wow, there's so much things to be read here. Now I'm so where I am. So I'm actually, this is how I'm working, and it's not super scientific, but I just rely on myself and on my experience. But I certainly, in the beginning, you don't have any experience and you have to rely on others, people's measurements. But by using those measurements and thinking that if you make the measurements of others and you do it precise, then it turns out great. This is not the trick. It's rather that you just, by repeating something of your master, let's say, slowly you develop your own taste. Okay, so this is how the whole thing works, and the more you do, the more you get information, and then you have more and more experience. So after 2 3 instruments, you know already how it is done. After 20 30 50 instruments, you know where it goes. And after, let's say, probably I made like 4 5 600 instruments, something like this, maybe even more, then you have it, you just have it in your hands. It's not that. Okay. Tostra, I actually do have a question. You may have seen that I finished my cello. I couldn't see your pictures, by the way. Sorry, I tried everything. I couldn't open these pictures. I didn't see the instrument. So send me the pictures on WhatsApp, but you share me the pictures on Google Drive, and I cannot open it. I even had to change all my Google passwords and everything, but I couldn't open it. But you may have seen them finished, and I'm so surprised how much of a difference the model makes. Yes, of course. Also, the cello is much better than I had hoped. This is good. I think I'm happy. I think coming from a very bright cello, I'm missing a bit of brilliant overtones. Yeah, then you can still search a little bit on with the setup and things like this. Huh? I'm not sure if maybe I will come with the varnish hardening, certainly, wood seasoning also, and so on. But do you have any tips I can try to boost the glittery overtones of a large, deep cello? Ha! This is a good question. A deep cello certainly. Mhm. If I remember right, you're making you made a Montagnana, and the Montagnana is deep rolling, so you cannot get that way compared to Stradivari, which is like beep beep beep. I would just move a little bit the sound post a little bit more closer to the bridge, or but it could also be a little bit I don't know, if your sound post is exactly how I explained how the sound post be, then write me again. But give it a little time. Give it a little time. Usually a cello takes about 6 months. It's too early now to judge. Believe me. Just enjoy it how it plays, and just play it. As long as you play it, it will start. And within 6 months, you will see what I mean. Also, what would you change in a model to make it brighter? Thinner plates? No, not thinner. You have to make them thicker. So a larger Montagnana, for instance, I make the top a little bit thicker. Higher arching, yes, why not? But I wouldn't do it too much. I make the top right quite normal, but never more than 32, 34 millimeters. But the back, you can make it really very high arching. Slimmery body, it's always, you want to make a Montagnana, but you want it a little bit more like a Stradivari sound. You have to make, just probably play a little bit with the thickness and maybe the arching, but then the arching wouldn't be, the arching could be thickness I would rather play a little bit, okay? Violin, play piano. Do you buy fresh wood and dry yourself on sun? Yes, I do. I have a lot of, but not directly in the sun. Here it would crack and is not so good directly in the sun. Okay, it has just to be in a place where it is air is moving. Okay, this is the whole part here about seasoning the wood, and then some people just want that it looks great, then they put white of the egg on it in order that it is fancy. If you're a wood dealer, then you have to do that, or some put even coffee on so it looks really old. But it's all after 20 years you're surprised how it looks like. Blue, hi. Hello, Edgar. Nice to see you. Keeping healthy. I have a varnish question. Does spirit varnish on a violin sound different to violin with oil varnish? Yes, and I would say, especially in the first 10 years, there is actually a difference. And because the spirit varnish turns out harder quicker than the oil varnish, but after that period, then actually I don't really believe there's such a huge difference. Okay, but still I would probably prefer the oil varnish. But then like I have a shop with people working for me, and we do the linea macchia and the scala perfetta. You cannot all the time adjust color and adding this or that. So I also use the spirit varnish, and yeah, I just think it's more satisfying for me while I'm varnishing with oil varnish. This is the part, and then I love to cook my own varnish, and mixing the spirit varnish is a little, I don't know, it's something is missing for me, And then I certainly, if I just think of how the old masters, the great masters were doing, I'm just convinced it was oil varnish. Imagine that I'm now, for most of you, I'm already an old man with 53 years, but I remember that there was a kid and there was a jar with paint for a door, like it was yellow or orange, and that didn't dry. So then I asked my mother, how comes it doesn't dry, and it has a different taste, it was smelling like these floors, linoleum, and she said, yeah, because this is oil varnish. This is the varnish we were using for many years, and now it's almost is acryl with solvent. So imagine that up to 50, 60 years ago, they still used oil varnish just to paint the doors, for instance, from a building. Yeah? So the whole oil varnish is more a question because it's not practical. They abandoned it, but it's actually at these times that was it. And alcohol was too expensive in order to varnish with it. That's what I believe. Wow, do Brasil. Oh la la, I'm not good in do Brasil. Dinilson Bernard. Hello, su seu fa aqui do Brasil. I don't understand exactly, but I'm happy that you're here from Brazil, okay? I'm not good in Brazilian, but it's nice that he's here. So see, will Edgar consider making a Guadagnini model violin? Why not? Yeah, could think about it. Guadagnini. I have not yet thought about it, but it could be a nice project. We could make a Guadagnini violin, a nice copy. Huh? Violin, play piano. We can talk about position of bass bar and if it is possible to tune it on finished instruments. Here we come into matters which are getting interesting, because I hear so much about bass bar tuning and everything, but none of all those people tuning their bass bars to the different tops have actually to me, convincing reason or how they do it. And if it comes down to the point, like I make my thicknesses, that I just do it with my experience, this is no help for you. So before somebody is going to tune it, so then I certainly at a certain point, then I could also tell you, yes, I make the bass bar and I tune it, but it's not a tuning, it's just making it, and then you just do it. And then if somebody asks, why do you do it, you don't know what to say. So then you say you tune it, but I don't tune it with a tuner. I don't tune it, I just make it. And I usually, the bass bar, I just make it the same way all the time. And if you are into it, of how to make a bass bar, then you understand that this is giving importance to something which others just immediately make a step back because they cannot talk with you anymore because they don't understand. It's like with my experience about the thickness. Before we start tuning a bass bar, talk with one of my employees. They have to make the first bass bar and they're just only fitting it after we put it already in the right position. For 1 week is not enough. And then this will become a bass bar for a linear Macchi, okay? And if they're really good, they realize to make it in 2 days. And my champions make it like in 4 or 5 hours, okay? If we're just talking here about fitting a bass bar 10 minutes and then throw it in and then close it, nobody will see it. This is a different violin making. If we do it in a certain way that there is a certain tension and this is perfectly distributed over the whole length of this bass bar and everything, that takes so much time that after that you realize that tuning is another thing which no need. If you make it good, how I say you should do it, tuning is just in the subject of bass bar is a different thing, okay? I don't believe in tuning a bass bar or a top with a bass bar. The bass bar is not there for tuning a top, okay? This is just my personal opinion. Maybe you're disappointed, but I imagine that I take 20 times more time for a nice bass bar than tuning it. Islam Magdi, hello, Mr. Russ. Ebony, boxwood, and rosewood fittings. Which do I choose for my violin? And depending on what should I choose? Certainly, if you buy a car, uh, you're choosing the car mainly because you say you need it, okay? But even so, people say they need this or that car. They actually choose it because out of emotional reasons. And my experience is, my personal experience when it comes to musicians who have to choose now a nice fitting for their violin. Ooh, this egg is completely soft now. I cannot eat. That actually the most beautiful with the one of these woods, rosewood, boxwood, uh, or ebony, the one you like the most is probably the one you will like the most, okay? And then certainly me as a maker, I'm convinced that the boxwood is definitely the lightest, and therefore it helps to sound very well. On the other side now, the tailpiece, if it is too light, doesn't sound as good as well. So don't exaggerate with the weight. And it could be that at a certain point, if you have a wolf tone on the A string on the viola, we had like in one of these transmissions, then you have to change your pegs from boxwood to ebony because they're more heavy. And then you influence this vibrating of the scroll, which causes mainly this wolf tone on the A string on the viola. So right now, I would rather think, why do you have to change it? And what kind of sound are you looking for? And are you happy with the sound right now on your instrument? If you want to change something and you have right now ebony, then certainly boxwood would make a big sound difference. Rosewood is very similar to ebony. On the other side, if your problem is because the pegs don't turn very well, then the rosewood is probably the one for the pegs, which is easiest to make them turn very well because the rosewood itself has already some grease and something inside. So it's usually rosewood pegs turn super great. But great boxwood when they're a few years old also as well. So it's everything has its reason, okay? And um, if you want to be more clear, then you have to write here or send me an email and you tell me what your instrument is right now, or you make it in time, you write it also here, okay? Spike Duval, why do violins made with the bottom plate not scraped out by hand does not sound as good that one has been scraped? Wow, once again, why do violins made with the bottom plate not scraped out by hand does not sound? So mainly, it's this question is not very nicely expressed. First of all, it's not that every factory instrument sounds great. And scraping out, if they sound better by scrape, then probably all violin would be scraped. But it's not. There is something in the question I don't like very much, but certainly the bottom and the top have to be made in a certain way. And if they are made by hand and somebody has chosen it to do it in a certain way using his experience and his emotion and his cautious way of doing, then certainly the instrument sounds better. Uh, if it would be so easy to make the right thicknesses with machinery, then machine-made instruments would be better than handmade instruments. This is the reason why handmade instruments in this constellation are always better, since the whole experience of the person who is doing it is applied on this plate. Okay, so it's I don't know if I got your question. It's a little bit seen off the wrong way. Mario Joshua Taklob. Hello, Edgar. I play violin for a long time now, but I want to upgrade and buy a more expensive bow. What are things I should consider when buying the right bow for me? Thanks, Mr. Edgar. Maria, the best thing is you have just like in your right price range, a little bit less expensive and a little bit more expensive. You just say a little bit your price range. Let's say 1,000. Now I just say 1,000. Then you get bows from 600 to 2,000 in front of you. You just mess them. You don't have to know what is what. It's not none of your business. And then you just go there and play one and next one and next one. If you like it, you put it a little bit more up. And if you don't like it, you put a little bit more down, up, down, and go quick like this. Then the best three you take out, and then you ask the prices of the three, and then you try to match your budget with what you're looking for, and then still you have a little bit of but you definitely have to choose the bow. Okay, you have to choose it, and the more people are next to you are talking about this and that, just leave it. uh, every step by trying to make it with a certain ratio and conscious and whatever is all crap, because it's just the bow. A good bow should be that you don't feel it, that it's a bow, and you just can do what you want to do. This is it. It's just like your fingers longer and then you have the bow. This should be how it should be. I'm not a bow maker, but this is my advice. Just go by first impression, okay? And that's it. This is how I would show you both when you come to my workshop, okay? Certainly when you go and try the bow, take your violin, okay? Take your violin because you have to adjust the bow to your violin you have right now. If you say 35 people, wow. If you think you want to change the instrument, then certainly change first the instrument and then the bow. Okay, the bow goes to the instrument and not the other way around. It's not that you buy first a 100,000 euro bow and then you search the right Stradivari for it. Okay, and then it could be that you end up with two bows, one for something and one for another. You know, but yeah, a little bit. That's what I suggest how I would do it in your. Bluehoo, I'm going to make some varnish, and because making the spirit varnish is not as dangerous to make, I would use this. That's what I could understand. But if oil varnish is better, then I will make some and be very careful. I would just make the oil varnish and just store it meanwhile, because if you make the varnish, you cannot immediately use it. It takes a little bit time. You just have to set it a little bit. So in any case, make the varnish and store it without air inside and just leave it, okay? And write always on every jar what's inside. Mm. Terry, have you considered doing short videos of some of your unsold instruments so your followers can hear your instrument? Terry, this is now my project I'm working on, and I will do it certainly. And I was thinking that I will do something like this. I will make all my instruments will be played by musicians, and then I will put it on my internet, and so people can buy now also online, since the COVID won't disappear within a few days, and even the lockdown will be finished. I think that the way of how we are going to proceed in the next few years, because I don't believe that within 1 year they have already the right medicine, but if so, I'm the first one who will be go there. Just give it to me, please. But I just think that it will last for longer, so I'm already going to organize myself. But if you want to have something of what kind of instrument you want, then I can, and your price range, then I can show you, send pictures, and maybe I have some videos on my cell phone. I have a few cellos which I have in the workshop and things like this. So I do it already, but it's not organized nicely that I can put it on my homepage. Alexander Winkler, hello Edgar. How do I make a gradient in varnish color? A gradient. I don't know what this is, a gradient, but probably you mean that it is fading a little bit from one color to another. But I don't know. You just put a little bit more, a little bit less, or you take a rag and you put it away, or you just don't, or you just take a rag and if it's spirit varnish, put a little bit alcohol and wash it a little bit away, but you have to do it. The spirit varnish, as soon as you have varnished, you immediately have to do it. Don't varnish and let it dry, and then you want to get it away. This is the key point, probably your problem you're facing. So after varnishing, immediately make it immediately right. Take off immediately after varnish on the edges. Take away immediately where the neck is, and not varnishing everything and then you try to make it nice. Then it's all hardened and you need a lot of alcohol, and then it doesn't go away, and then all of a sudden everything is away. No, you have to be able still to model the varnish. I think this is what you meant. So the key point is to do it immediately. After every layer, just clean a little bit. Every time a little bit, a little bit, you know? And with oil varnish, also immediately. You cannot put it into the sun or into the UV box if it is not how you actually want it. You cannot varnish with oil varnish, put it in the UV, and then later on with scraper, sandpaper, and all this. Impossible. You have with oil varnish, you have to do it immediately. And you can nicely watch and play and but you have to do it immediately. Okay? Blue, do you think the oil varnish is better than the spirit varnish? It's always also a question of taste. It's better. Better is always a. I just love it more. Okay, and I just think that the great masters definitely used oil varnish, but spirit varnish has its advantages, and if you're looking for a very focused sound, which nowadays is more and more uh, desired, then probably could be nice, you know, but it's certainly also immediately more transparent. So it always depends of what is for you a nice varnish. If it has to be from the very first day, immediately super transparent and super focused the sound, and put on the spirit varnish, and it's nice. I use it as well. Hoppa. Yeah, la, 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 la. Wow, there's so much, and I have to be a little bit quicker today because there's so many questions and it doesn't come in real time. Thanks, sir. Stay home, safe. I'm from India. Very important channel. So, do you speak Danish? No, I don't speak Danish. I'm sorry. My mother is Dutch. I'm born in Austria, so I talk German. And I talk English, how you can hear. And then I'm living in Italy, allora parlo italiano. Okay. And so this is it. Mark Strad, hello, how important is bridge tuning for you? To make an instrument sound its best, do you work at bridge details together with your customers to make it fit perfectly to the, yes, of course. Yes, of course. And on the other side, similar to the bass bar tuning, if everything is made in a proper way, and this is the reason for my YouTube channel, that I want to show you that many small things have to be done in a certain way in order that you get out the maximum of your instrument. So, but at a certain point, if everything is done and made from me how it should be, and you're not happy, then certainly we even adjust the sound with the bridge on to open it more up and things like this. Yeah. Termin Serrano, is there a good reference book or guide or pattern to follow to build a baroque violin? I don't know because I have not found yet. Okay, I have nothing to that. I made a 5-string cello, baroque style, but I don't have any reference book regarding this. Would be something that somebody makes it. Ariane, buongiorno maestro Edgar, le posso chiedere quando incide la vernice d'olio nel suono del violino? La ringrazio molto. How much affects the oil varnish the sound of a violin? It's just a question, I think, of tension on the outside of an instrument, similar like you have a thin piece of wood and you apply on one side varnish and then it will warp. Okay, and so the more the instrument, the varnish becomes hard, the more it will warp. Okay, and then it becomes like a banana shape, the whole thing. So with the oil varnish, it don't warp. It just stays because it's quite soft. So, and this on the acoustics of an instrument makes certainly a lot of influence. So I think that the oil varnish gives you from the very beginning a, a more open sound. Alvin Carvalho, hello, do you use your sealer on the neck as well? Yes. And do you use any finish on the neck after finishing varnish of the rest of the instrument, like with linseed oil or shellac? No, I usually put on bicromato di potassio to have it nicely dark, how it should be. And on on the more economic instruments, we put just to speed up a little bit of shellac. But usually I just put oil for furniture on it, and then we sandpaper it very nicely, and this is very good. Ayong, sei un affezionato? Che bene, mi manchi. Top Maestro, thank you for sharing us all your knowledge and precious experiences. Mamma mia, you're welcome, Ayong. I'm looking forward to see you. On 4th, we're opening up, you know, Mamma mia. So we see us all with mask and this disinfection and all this. Huh? Hassan Ahmed, hi Edgar, hope you're doing good. How can I make my instrument violin sound better if at the moment I can't afford a better one? I have a Suzuki Nagoya violin. The Suzuki Nagoya, wow. This is a good question, but I don't know because probably the first thing would be that you measure the distance of the bridge. If you have a full length of the vibrating string, if it's 32.8 centimeters. And then the next thing is if the distance from the bridge, if the bridge is standing how I explained in one of the last videos, you know, that it's nicely straight and here goes the fingerboard, okay? And the distance to the tailpiece, that it's 1/6 of the vibrating string. And this on this kind of instrument probably is most of the times is already wrong. So you could do that. So I would say this is something you should double check. And then we see if it's becoming better. Okay. And then also look the video about the, I think it's episode 5, but I'm not sure the right sound post position. But once you did all this, then you probably already feel that you have a new violin. Merta Shiamalipur, thanks a zillion. That was very useful and kind of you. May God bless you. You're unique and a lot of hearts. You're so nice. I'm getting red here. So nice. Thank you. Tostra, so sorry that my pictures caused you issues. I tried to share them with the other email, but I guess that didn't work. It didn't work. Sorry. I made a violin, but a very large one, similar to a Montagnana. Okay. Pinlin Chu, hi Edgar, please send me the pictures again. I'm curious what you made here. Hi Edgar, how do you think about Viola models? Do you have any preference models? Strad, Guarneri, Montagnana-Maggini, Tertis. I like actually, yeah, Stradivari, Guarneri mixture out of this. All my viola models I designed myself, and the smaller I make the viola, in order to compensate that it is smaller, I make it a little bit larger. Up to 42, you can be on large. If it's longer than 42, then you can actually even make it quite narrow. One of the models which are very difficult to make them sound properly is like the Stradivari 715. It doesn't sound. It's just a non-sounding. It's a Strat. It's very beautiful to look at, but it doesn't sound. Okay, I'm very lucky. Just have the new partner, the Tetris model from Marino Capicchioni. How do you think about the model and the Maker Cappicchioni? It was a very good one, and he made a lot of violas, and I think they're very nice. I saw a lot of them. Marcello Villa made a book about Capicchioni, and there are a lot of nice, very nice. Okay. The best violas I've ever seen were Mantegazza and Testore. Okay, but this is, I didn't see now everything, so you know, this is just my experience here. Toaster, thanks for the tips. I will try playing with the thickness. It's on the same model, maybe the arching too. It was a rather thick top with low arching, I think 22.7. Yeah, so I think it's a little bit too early to judge now. Just hold on a little bit, okay? Just wait a little bit, let it rest a little bit. It will come down and everything has to get into its idle position. Hi, Edgar, I sent you already 2 weeks ago a recording and pictures about how my violin sounds and waiting your comment. I have not seen, I saw your video, yeah, but here it is the info@eras.it, I hope, okay? But I couldn't hear the recording. Sorry, I don't know what is with my. I don't get the pictures. I couldn't hear the recording. So that's why I didn't answer. Hanetrop, hello Edgar. Do you have a video about rib heath and how it tapers from neck to saddle? Do all cello models have a different rib heath near neck compared to near saddle? Okay, now I got it. Yes, they do that, but while on a violin you try to make the top. No, hold on. How was the whole thing? Usually, you make the upper block on a cello. You make it a little bit more narrow than the rest. in order that it doesn't stand so far away. On a double bass, you make it like 5, 6, even 10 centimeters in order that it's more comfortable to play. Uh, there would be a lot of things to talk about if it is better to make it straight or that it's and then on one side or it's straight and straight another side. I on a cello, I don't believe that it doesn't really make a difference on the sound, okay? But I do it actually that I have the C and the lower part all on one flat, and then I go down 5 millimeters on the cello. And we're talking about a height of 12 centimeters, 11.5, 11, 11.5, something about this, okay? Um, Try to, if I make very high arching, then I make it maybe half centimeter lower, but it's not that by making the ribs now higher, you would get now a bigger sound or something. It's a little exaggerated. So on a violin, it is like 30 millimeters, but I don't think that it's so much difference. Sometimes in the C's, you have the lower and the upper part, and then in the C's, I like it that it's slightly banana shaped. So then I still have to squeeze it a little bit. Nothing exaggerated, not even half a millimeter on a violin, okay? But I think it maybe I like it just because it also looks a little bit more, underlines a little bit the whole thing. But much more about this, I don't actually have to recommend. I see that the ribs actually just are just there to be connecting top and back, and they should be stable. But if you make them too thick, then the whole instrument becomes heavy, and you don't want to do that as well. So I think it's better to have it a little bit lighter, but stiff. It should be stiff, but I don't like that people glue something on the ribs inside. That usually creates only disaster and noise. Hassan Ahmed, how do I know if my violin is handmade? I bought a Suzuki violin. Since you bought a Suzuki violin, I can tell you it's machine made. But they're not made bad. For being a machine made instrument, they sound quite okay. Okay. Spike Dual, I read China has take over 70 to 80% of violin making. Why is this happening? Bought two just to practice on. They were junk. I threw them away. Okay, I'm sorry about this. It's just that maybe China has even more than 80% of the violin making, but it's a specific violin making. And first of all, China is huge. And in China, a lot of people play a lot of instruments, a lot of violin, and so they need a lot. So all this production they have is mainly to satisfy their Chinese market request. So you could not make that Cremona 160 makers could satisfy the desire of the Chinese market. And then most people who want to play, they need an economic instrument. And I think this is a great chance that many people play the violin. Okay. So there's no problem with this. And by making mass production, you cannot achieve the same quality I achieve by making 10 instruments a year. Okay. So this is like a tricycle for a small child compared to a Rolls Royce. It's two worlds, okay? So you cannot put everything together. But on the other side, even you bought now these Chinese instruments, you were curious, and they don't work, you throw them away. You want to play the violin, you get one from here in Italy, Feltrinelli, they buy it for 49 euros, you can play it, and after one song, throw it away. Um, if you want something nice and you look how it is done and you have a certain interest how it should be and how it sounds and how you can express yourself and you want to get the best out of it and it has to reflect yourself and it has to be part of yours, then you go certainly to Cremona where things are made in a certain way, but it's completely different subject. And in from China is not China. There are some very lousy instruments. I even saw instruments for 12 euro. You can already buy a violin. I don't know how it is, something like this is even possible, but it's completely different. You know, it's, and nowadays we all think it's all just the same. Now here I was looking to the umbrellas. You know, you can buy an umbrella for 1 euro, and you can buy an umbrella for, there's an umbrella maker in Milan, for instance, where one umbrella is like 300 euros or something. And now you want to put the 1 euro umbrella with 200 or 300 euro umbrella together in the same pot, or you can buy church school shoes for 600-800 euros, and they are made in a certain way in Italy. This is Italian craftsmanship. This is Italian fashion, Italian tradition, and this is the same with the violin making. Cremona, we're here at the top of the top. Okay, just name things as they are. But believe me, there are also in China some super good makers and some super great makers who use their brain, and they do super good instruments. Yeah, and they win competitions and everything. So you have to just don't judge because somebody has now uh, Asian eyes. Okay. I'm always a little bit okay. I have also in my workshop, I have Asian working, and they're super good. And the world has to open up a little bit their mind regarding this whole thing. It's rather a question that you have to look at the instrument, be able to understand how it has been made, and if it is good made or not. Okay. Um, Wendy G, as a beginner learner of the violin, what is your opinion? Do older violins have a better sound or new violins? Thank you. You know, Wendy, it's a good question. This is what everybody would love to hear. Everybody wants to play on a Stradivari from the very first moment on, but probably in the beginning, factory instrument is certainly better than a great old instrument. Old instruments certainly what you have, and if it is maintained well and the setup is made well, then sound very well. And it would be nonsense if I would say that I'm finished my instrument and the day after it sounds and I can compare it with an old instrument. But on the other side, after 5 years and nicely maintaining the setup and everything, I think they sound very good. And you would be surprised, and I guess you would have difficulties to be able to say that the old instrument is better than my new one, which has done at that time already 1 or 2 or 5 years. So it's rather a question: do you want an old instrument and you want to be fooled, or do you want to get a new instrument? Do you want to be sure what you're buying, and you can still talk to the maker and make a picture and be sure what you buy is what it is? Okay, at the time of Stradivari, they didn't have cell phones and smartphones in their pocket, and they couldn't make pictures. So nowadays, this should give you a good answer to how I see this. But I love antique instruments, and that's why I make my copies of all copies. I get inspiration of old instruments. Dervin Serrano, I have done experiments changing, larger or smaller, the underside cavity of the fingerboard, free portions, and it affects significantly the instrument's tone and quality. Is this your experience also? Yes, it is. For instance, on a cello, mainly most cellos have a too long fingerboard, so then I cut the fingerboard. But on a violin as well, sometimes the fingerboard is too long. But if you make it too thin, then it vibrates too much and it is weak when you touch it. So you have to find the right compromise. But it certainly is another part of it which influences the sound. Yeah. And if it is not carved, it's damping the vibration, and this part of the fingerboard is sounding as well. So it is an important part for this. Roberto Pecchera. Hello, Mr. Rose. Greetings from Chile. Wow, today even Chile. This is just really nice, the whole thing. Just a big thank you for sharing your wisdom. You're welcome. Martin. Hello, Edgar. I want to try a gelatin-based primer according to your recipe. What kind of calcium should I use? Calcium is calcium. It's just the white powder. It's the same powder you're using to whitening the walls or to sign on the football field on the green, the white lines. It's just this white powder. It costs nothing, and it is, and you can burn yourself a lot if you get it on your skin. Okay, this is why they don't use it anymore, I think, or during soccer games. But it is actually, this was the calcium, so it's just calcium. That's it. Okay. I have here problems with the internet slightly, and I'm here 75 minutes. My God, today I was talking a lot here. Uh, Martin, okay. So I don't know if this is all I had to, um, because the computer here, because Elena inside on the Wi-Fi here is also doing her meetings. So today I'm a little bit slow here, but I'm glad that my cell phone has a good connection. So I think today we had a lot of subjects talking. I hope I didn't disappoint you about some matches I was talking to you, but it's good to be clear and just explain you everything, right? Here it is stuck, so I'm sorry for the last ones if there was somebody else who tried to give me some other uh, questions, but there is nothing else coming in. Okay, so I would say this was a good transmission. We see us also on Thursday, where I want to talk with musicians mainly. And this Thursday, I talk about the fingerboard and all related problems about this, and certainly other minor things. I will also uh, talk and answer your questions. And then on Monday, when I'm back in my workshop, I will just make a short transmission, see if I can make it, because I'm not sure if the cell phone works as well in my workshop, where the walls are 1.10 meters thick. It's an old building from the 15th century, and this is why I don't have so strong internet. But I will do my best. Okay. Here's somebody else. Dostra, thank you so much for the stream so far. I hope that you will continue later on. I couldn't read it anymore, but I'm happy that you liked it. Okay. Thank you for being here, for watching, and we see us. Keep in touch. Bye bye. Bye bye. Ciao, ciao. Ciao, ciao.